Hello everyone, my name is Diego Alfonso and I'm one of your hosts with the Florida Aviation Network. We're broadcasting live and in the clear from the Florida Air Museum at the Sun & Fun Complex in Lakeland, Florida. We're celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Sun & Fun Fly-In and Exposition. Today, we have a treat for you. Our guest, but before I mention even his name, I would just want to tell you one thing. If you are a pilot, you probably have heard her name or know of her. They have undertaken a tremendous, what I call a labor of love towards aviation. And we're fortunate enough to have them here as our guests today. I'm going to introduce to you now Captain Judy Rice. Welcome to the show. And Fred Nauer.
Fred Nauer, yes, thanks.
Captain. I'm going to call you Captain. I feel more comfortable. I'm being a pilot myself, and I was a first officer for a long time, so I can relate to that.
And we're positioned correctly.
A little bit awkward,
yes.
but we're okay.
Navigator should be here, though. Anyway.
Now, here's the thing. Of course, I know about this undertaking. And I know our audience is just dying to hear about it. But first, what I would like to ask you is, where does the dream comes from? In other words, the first dream was to become a pilot.
Yes.
And that's what I want you to go into. Let us know what was the seed, what was the spark that got you going into becoming a pilot?
Well, I usually go, when I was a little girl. It did. It started all the way back. Ever since I can remember, I always wanted to fly. And I was told good girls don't fly. You're not going to fly. I was a good girl. I went to school. I became a school teacher. I was a teacher for 16 years. Special ed, learning disorders, behavior disorders. When my son was 9 years old, I was still in the classroom teaching. He said, Mom, I want to fly. Why haven't you ever flown? I didn't have an answer. I raised him to follow his dreams, to work towards his dreams. We learned to fly together. So at 40 years old, I earned my pilot's license. Okay. So that brings me into the passion of my message is work towards your dreams, whether you're young, whether you're a senior, work towards your dreams and do not let anyone tell you if it's a good dream that that's not a good thing to do. And that's part of my passion. Now 61 years old, my dream is about to become reality. Do you want me to sidetrack into FUN Global Flight or we'll get back to that?
Okay, what I'd like to do is I'd like to address Fred now to get him into the picture and his background. And I'm going to ask him the same question. How
Excellent.
Did you get started into what I would call the line that took you here? That's what I would like to know.
Well, just like here at Sun & Fun, on the weekend you're going to have the Blue Angels here flying their F-18s. I remember the Blue Angels way back in the day when they were flying F-4s, and the one in the slot had a black tail because of the soot that came out of the engines. And those were the first airplanes I saw, and I saw those airplanes fly at Flying Cloud Airport in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. Now I'm working for Thunderbird Aviation, flying out of that exact same airport. So it's kind of a full circle. I've learned how to, got very, very interested in aviation, spent some time in the Air Force flying back seat in the F4. Then I got out and got my pilot's license and became a flight instructor, and I'm a chief flight instructor up at Thunderbird Aviation. And so at that very spot, that's where I met Judy, and it's my fault. I'm the one who taught her how to fly.
Yes.
Now, Ismael, we're going to get into this later, but I understand your official title is Navigator.
That's right.
And okay, we're going to come back to that.
Okay.
But now I'm going to go back to Captain Judy, and I really would like now for you to start from the beginning on this concept. I call it. It may not be the same thing, but I call it a concept because it
Yes.
really is a concept that we really need to get out there and tell our audience exactly how this thing came to being, how it has progressed to what it is now, and of course the last part is what we need to make it to the end. And I don't want to say the end, I want to say to continue, okay?
Yes,
So
it will
because it should
continue.
never end. So
You are very correct.
so
And
you
do-
have the floor, and there's people out there that want to hear you.
Excellent, excellent. Again, the message, keeping the message in mind, Diego, is that it's all about dreams. And it rolls around the dream and fulfilling the dream and working towards the dream as much as it does on aviation, growing our workforce, all the buzzwords, the science, technology, engineering, mathematics, do not forget the arts, the STEM. So when did it start? After I earned my wings and then I progressed, I found Navigator Fred that helped me earn my wings, and I progressed through all my ratings. I was a teacher, still teaching when I was a private pilot, and I found the power of aviation with my students. As a special ed teacher and a behavioral disorder teacher, I had some tough cookies. And I found that when they learned that I was learning to fly, and then I got my private pilot license, they'd do anything to hear about airplanes. And I went, I have something here. And it really sent me on this path. So combining that, I waited until I was 40 years old, and as a teacher, I saw the power with my students. I just made a tough decision, and I left the classroom. And my mission has always been, since leaving the classroom, and we're talking over 20 years now, is to reach every single kid on the planet, and not just kids, but big kids, us grown kids, that I can on, it's here. Look at this beautiful thing. One of my first contracts, and I contract out, one of my first contracts was with EAA, and it's often known as AirVenture or Oshkosh, and I worked for EAA as Executive Director of Education. And I got to be really good friends with a lot of people. Dick Rattan, Voyager pilot, was one of them. Dick became my friend and my mentor, and he is now the ambassador for Trhin Global Flight. He said to me way back then, Judy, if you really want to inspire kids, you need to fly around the world. Keeping in mind my private pilot signature was wet, and I kind of went, that's a good idea, but. So I've been building on this dream for quite a while. I needed to have a whole heck of a lot more experience. I needed all the logistics. I needed experience, the whole thing. Dick has been with me through all this concept. So fast forward a little bit. I've gone through various contracts, various ratings, flying various airplanes. Dick has been helping me through it. 5 years ago, I was comfortable enough with the concept that I really started working on it. And Navigator Fred had been out of my life for quite a while. He was my primary instructor. I found Navigator Fred, and I emailed him. And what did I say, Navigator Fred?
That's right. I got an email from Judy that says, I'm going to fly around the world, and I want you to come with me. And I emailed her back, says, that sounds like a wonderful idea. Think Global, Fred Nauer. And so that became the name of the outfit.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
And here we are today. 5 years ago, we started with a Cirrus SR20 that was donated by Guidance Aviation. Really a sweet little bird. I named her Lulu. She was just a wonderful butterfly of a Cirrus. We flew Lulu around, and Dale Klattmeyer, a co-founder of Cirrus, asked Navigator Fred and I to come to Duluth, and he sat us down, and he didn't say wisely, don't do that. He said, this is not the tool for your mission.
Okay.
And so Navigator Fred and I, we looked at each other and went, Then we found Mike Radomski. And Mike Radomski is co-founder of COPA, Cirrus Owners Pilot Association. And Mike asked us to come to North Las Vegas where he instructs. And we flew his Cirrus SR20 and flew in his simulator. we knew the 20 was not the machine. The numbers work when you talk airplane numbers for you educators and students out there. By the way, go to thinkglobalflight.org and you're going to see what's called the Pilot Operator Handbook on the website. We have it for the 20, we have it for the 22, and I'll get into the 22 Turbo. Okay. Students go out there, look at those POHs, Pilot Operating Handbook, and you're going to know why the 20 is not the Tour. So going back to the 20. So we trained with Mike in his 22 and flew it around and did a lot of training. And very important is always train more than, we call it overtraining, but it's not really. And now we have a beautiful, from Ascension Aircraft, Cirrus SR20 Turbo. Oh, what a beautiful airplane. And it's sitting right out there. For those of you that are here, please come visit us. That's why I have Navigator Fred right out there. It's a beautiful airplane, and we really appreciate Ascension Air for the airplane. And we're ready. We're ready to rock and roll. And what we have right now, and I'll say the elevator line for Think Global Flight. We are an around-the-world flight of adventure, inspiring students and about education. We have 20,000 kids all over the world, 25 countries and 31 United States, and they're following us. And not only are most of those kids following us, but we have under the education tab all sorts of ways that students, that pilots, that kids can participate. And being a teacher, I really understand the flexibility. And not only that, but we encourage teachers to empower their students to learn on their own. Everything's there under the education tab. All the teacher or the parent, we have a lot of parents, we have a lot of homeschools, we have a lot of flight schools. Exactly. All they need to do is direct colleges, direct the kids, it's for all ages. Direct the kids to that education tab and the magic starts. Especially if you have a kid out there that's driving you crazy. I was one of them. Remember, I had that 10-year-old that was driving me crazy, and I tried to calm him down, come on, chill out, but I didn't want him to lose his passion. So Think Global Flight is for the parent that really wants to channel their kid into flying. It's there. And that's where we're at now. What I'd like to do, if you don't have any additional questions.
No, I would like to
exactly.
Ask something or say something. I didn't know the fact that the relationship that existed before this happened. Right. And it's funny because I do a lot of seminars for CFIs. And one of the things I tell CFIs is, do you know who Ira Biffle was? And most of them don't know. Well, that's Lindbergh's flight instructor. Little did you know.
That's right. Yeah. Exactly.
Am I right?
That's right.
And this is not only, and I'm looking at another angle here.
Right.
This is a motivational piece, even for CFIs.
Yes.
Because you never know with that person that you're teaching, where is he going to go?
That's exactly it.
And here's Lindbergh was one, Doolittle was another one.
Right.
Astronauts. Do you think that the instructor that was teaching those guys and gals at the beginning thought that was going to happen? and I'm just like, because I'm a CFI at heart.
Right.
I love that.
Too.
We are.
Yes.
We
now,
are
what I like
so.
to do now is I like to go into Fred and for him to talk to me a little bit about how are we going to do this? The route, have you thought about that? What are the logistics in this?
One of the things that I did right after she sent me that email was went to the internet and found the Earth Rounder site. And it's a organization of people who have flown around the world. And I looked at all the different flights and read the stories that were on there. And almost to a person, they flew around with a tank, taking out the back seat and putting a fuel tank back there and taking long distance trips over the ocean. And I thought in my mind, could there be a way of finding a route where I wouldn't have to put a tank in the back of a single engine piston powered airplane? And so I found another thing on the internet where I could do great circle routes and just went from point to point around the world. And I realized that if I could find an airplane that could do 900 miles unrefueled then I could fly around the world without putting a tank in the back. The 20 just was really, really close. The 22 turbo is exactly what we're looking for. And so so it's leaving from Sun and Fun and then going up the east coast into Canada, getting as far east as we can go, and then go to Greenland. Then from Greenland over to Iceland, then Iceland into Scotland, and then we're close enough we can fly all over Europe, all over the Mediterranean, through the Middle East, and through South Asia, Southeast Asia, into Asia itself. Then the next trick is getting back to the United States. We got to go north to into the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia and refuel there so that we can make it over to Alaska. And then once we're in Alaska, then we could fly right back into the United States. And so right off the bat, I knew that we could do this, and it was a doable goal. The object was there, and we could do something that was slightly different than the other Earth rounders have done. Other people have flown these routes. It's not like a brand new idea, but right. It was an interesting to find out, could we do it in the airplanes that we were working with?
Of course, the logistics of that, I thought about that too, and but that's the key to the whole thing.
Right.
It's your planning,
right.
Like the old adage, plan your flight and fly your plane,
exactly.
that type of thing. And that either makes it or break it.
Right.
Going back to, I have a question because I'm curious. What's the name of the new plane? Is it still Lulu? Or?
That's really great. I'm waiting for it to talk to me. I name all my airplanes, Well, maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it's
well, the other thing with Ascension Air, there's a possibility we could fly one of 4 different airplanes.
Yes.
So we're going to have to
Every
make it.
airplane has a name.
Okay.
And it'll speak to me. This
Okay.
is the second one we've flown on the turbo, so we'll see. I don't know. This one's kind of telling me Ralph. Oh, that's a good question.
I'm gonna. I just want to interject something here because I've been teaching for over 40 years. I love to teach. That's my passion. I've done everything. I mean, done the airlines, the 135s, schools, everything. But teaching is my thing. And it's funny because I realized that we have a shrinking pilot
Yes.
population. And there is another item that I became aware of is that there's a lot of people that love airplanes and love the flying, but think they can't.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to reach those people too, to
Yes.
let them know that, hey, the only requirement to be a pilot is to have a burning desire to be a pilot.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't require extra knowledge, being more courageous,
No.
more powerful. It just requires that and as a flight instructor, if you like to fly, you're going to learn to fly.
Yeah.
It's a focus.
Exactly.
It's a focus, it's a passion. And once someone realizes, something like golf or boating, that's a lot of work, Scuba diving, anything is a lot of work if you're going to do it right, and it's just a lot of work. So you really hit it on the head. It's very heartwarming. A day does not go by that we do not have someone either come up to us or email us, and it is generally an adult. And it's really heartwarming when it's female, and they'll come up and they say, "You inspired me. I am going to do it. I know I can do it now." Again, it's for big kids as well as little kids.
Of course, that makes your day. That's
It
when
is.
and in any profession, if you're able to inspire somebody to do something,
Yes.
and then they tell you, it's like, I haven't lived in vain. At least I
Yeah.
pushed somebody else.
Exactly.
And because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Is how are we going to contribute?
Yes.
What you guys are doing is just a tremendous feat. It's right along my train of thought. That's what I really would like to see. You have my support in every which way. I have another question though. When you're planning this trip, the places that you're going, I imagine there will be some kind of a media coverage of the places that you go, and
Yes.
that so you can continue I don't want to call it marketing. I want to call it the just pass on the enthusiasm.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever that airplane
Growing,
touches.
continuing to grow is what
Exactly.
it is. And I'll ask Navigator Fred to talk about the details of our stops, but it's definitely media. We are first doing a national tour. We launch from here tomorrow, 2 o'clock, outside the announcer stand. We do our national tour spring and summer, and it's because of several political issues, and Navigator Fred will cover that. And we're working very closely, keeping in mind we have 31 United States, and we have kids in each of these pockets. So because we only have so much time, we're visiting the ones that are hosting us and have the most strongest kids. So we are having media coverage, and it's really neat because all over the world.
Yeah.
You know, we have hosting of stops. London's another very strong one. Madrid, Spain, Fly-In Fun. We are not going to Africa or Australia, and I'll say this time. We have very strong following in Africa, Australia. So yeah, it's really, really a great moment. It's really to be real to the kids.
I was in Nigeria back about 10 years ago. I went to teach at the Nigerian College of Aeronautical Technologies over there, CFIs as a matter of fact. And it's amazing the love for aviation that exists in that country. These kids were so motivated, and it was just unbelievable. You tell them okay, tomorrow we're going to talk about, I want you to read chapter 1, and they come back and they read 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yes.
You know, and they're really, well now, I'd like you to take up what she was saying about the places that we're going to touch.
The international route is, like she was talking about, a lot of the places that we're going to go is places that we have what we call student command centers. You know, even if it's just one adult and one child, but you know, going to places that are very enthusiastic about aviation. The problem we're having right now is just, like she said, the political situation. The reason we're delaying our international flight till maybe the fall is because Russia doesn't sell avgas anymore, so our single-engine airplane can't get to that peninsula to get to Alaska. So we're starting to work on Plan B or C right now as far as the international trip is concerned. But during both trips, the national and the international trip, we'll also have spider tracks on board the airplane so that the students will be able to go on the Spider Tracks website and follow us as we fly along. We got the newest attachment to that. We can actually text from the airplane to the website to be able to communicate. That's the other big thing about the process we're doing now. The satellite communication systems that we're going to be able to use to talk to the kids all over the world as we're flying. We have video capabilities with GoPro cameras and our iPhones to be able to film wherever we go.
The technology today,
exactly,
is
and then send that almost in real time to all around the world. So it's going to be fantastic.
Okay, now every enterprise, every dream, every purpose that is followed with action in the world requires a lot of things, but it requires funding.
It does.
So I know that you guys have up to the point where we think that we need more funding. We need help. So here's your chance to get into our audience's heart and pockets.
Thank you. Thank you. We have many wonderful donors. Almost all in kind, almost $1 million. That says a lot. A lot of people believing in our passion, our dream, becomes their passion and dream. We currently need $100,000, and we need it in cash. It is for the fuel, it's for the landing fees, it's for the overflight fees. There are a lot of fees to fly around the world. And it is www.thinkglobalflight.org. Look at the sponsor tab. We give back to our sponsors. There's different programs in different ways. And if I was able to turn around and show you the back, you'd see all the logos.
Judy, it's been a real pleasure to be here, to have you here, and to have, I want to call it Captain 2, Captain Navigator, Fred. We really enjoy. We wish you guys all the luck in the world. We'll be praying for you.
Appreciate it.
And wish
Thank
you all
you.
the luck. Okay.
Thank you.
And to you, we want to thank you for joining us. And my name is Diego Alfonso with the Florida Aviation Network. And we will be back pretty soon